Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to Soul Shift Messages. If you're moving through a transition, an awakening, or just deep interchange, you're in the right place. Take a deep breath and let these messages find you where you are. Please remember to always take what resonates and leave what doesn't for someone else. If you're new to the channel, please know I cuss. Um, I do. If that doesn't align with you, that's perfectly fine. Feel free to leave now and find a channeler who is more in alignment with you. My channel is about authenticity, truth, honesty, being real, and that means for me showing up as who I am, and frankly, I just cuss. Once I get into these messages and I start channeling and things start flowing, I can't be 100% sure what's coming out. So you've been warned. Um, if I'm recording this on December 21st of 2025, it is the winter solstice. And I actually find it interesting how it's a cloudy day here for me. The sun's popping in and out, but I just find it interesting how it's the winter solstice. I believe it's the darkest day of the year. That's how they put it. It's the darkest day. It's always darkest before the dawn. And I just find it very interesting how like half of me is illuminated and the other half is not. So instead of finagling, with lighting and things of that sort, I just decided to embrace it. It just seems very fitting. So if you're watching this and it's around that time frame, happy winter solstice. I hope you're all really just feeling what you need and really taking care of yourself today. If you need rest, really be leaning into that. You could be like me and actually eating a little bit more food than you normally do. That's totally fine. And if you're doing your rituals, best of luck. May they always work in your favor. You're always more powerful than you think you are. And if it's not around the winter solstice, my advice would be trust the timing of when this comes across your feed and when you feel called to watch it. There's something in here for you, even if that timing doesn't quite line up. So I have a bunch of notes. There's a lot to cover here, so do bear with me. Some of these messages are specific, so again, if you feel called to watch this, trust there's something in here for you. But the title of this is You're Ending a Major Soul Cycle. Here's what happens next. And really, the primary message that came through is ending a major soul cycle doesn't feel like fireworks. It's not going to go out with a bang and bravado and all these lights and things of that sort. What is really happening right now is we're really understanding, it really feels more like your nervous system just stops negotiating with what no longer works for you, what no longer resonates. A lot of these points really kind of connect to things we've already talked about right now, like taking care of the body, listening to the body. And, it's almost like most of us have been in our heads and using logic and thinking and processing and analyzing and understanding up until this point. And really what it feels like to me and what my experience has been is we're really moving away from that and back into the body. The body is going to actually be the main mechanism that is going to be indicating to us moving forward what fits and what doesn't. It's almost like we're being moved from the logical part into the intuition more and more. And so if your body feels like it is rejecting certain things, even if it's food, drinks, being around certain people, if you're just around people you've always been around and all of a sudden you're like, I just can't get comfortable. Like I'm just, you feel just not right. Those are signs that you want to be paying attention to at this time. So just be flexible with yourself, as you keep going through this process. It is a process. Trust your process. Trust your pace. You're not behind. You're not slipping, and a lot of what these messages are about is really to try to help put you at ease and give you an idea of what's coming next. So if you're a little uncomfortable right now, that's totally fine. If you're feeling lighter and you feel really good, I've actually felt a little more childlike today. Again, embrace that. If that comes in, that's great. And if you get to a point later in the day where you're like, you know what, I'm tired, I need to rest, shift and embrace that too. There's no wrong way as long as you are listening to what you need and trusting. So we're going to start with the things that are ending. The winter solstice is considered a portal to most. So there are endings. We talked about how there are endings occurring at this time. And there will be new things coming in and stabilizing. So we're going to start with what we're closing out. And really what it is it's really a long phase of overgiving. If I'm being really honest, overgivers tend to be the strong ones, the good ones. They're helpful and often self-sacrificing. Even some of you may bleed into martyrdom. And there's no shame in this. Believe me, these messages are for me just as much as they are for you. I actually fall into the martyrdom phase. I have spent many lifetimes trying to save people. And this is, for a lot of us, if you're watching this is really our souls drawing the lines in the sand and saying no more. We've done this enough, and we're just not carrying this forward. And so that cycle's really coming to an end. These identities that are built around endurance and fixing or carrying, like I said, that all has to come to an end. It's just, we've been there, we've done that, we're not doing it again in this lifetime. And really, this one I really feel in my heart. So my heart goes out to you if this one hits hard too. But being admired or needed, but constantly drained, right? You show up for others in a way that people don't reciprocate. They don't show up for you. Again, it's really not putting yourself first, and they're making me think of that saying when you're on airplanes, put your oxygen mask on first before you help others. That's really what a lot of us are either choosing to walk into, or some of us may feel like we're being forced into that, and it's a big shift. It may not sound like a big shift, but for some of us, that may truly be a life-changing shift. So, really, we're not going to be helping others at the cost of our body and our own well-being. We just cannot do that anymore. We can't move forward with that type of mindset, and that's really what is being released and shed today, and they really want to convey this isn't failure. Don't look at this as failure at all. We are maturing. Almost think of it as a graduation, right? You have done this before. Your soul is growing. There's no need to keep carrying it further. We're really trying to make space for these beautiful blessings, abundance, and miracles that are trying to be lined up for us. And if we have all these old things, these things that no longer serve in our field, in our body, in our mind, then we can't make room for those beautiful things. And so we're really just, again, closing that out, saying thank you, no thank you, and we're moving forward. So some of you may have, sometimes the shadow screams before the end. It kind of goes out shouting. And some of you may be experiencing that. You may have like suppressed needs coming up. Some of you may be very irritable at this time. You may be bored. You may just be bored with old roles, and that's really because you're just outgrowing these things. So the things that were kind of stuffed down are going to come up to be released. You may be crying, you may be angry, you may be finding yourself really frustrated. And really, again, it's about letting these feelings come up and be expressed. It's not so much about analyzing it, trying to tie it back to a certain narrative. It's really just let your body release what needs to come out so that you can clear it out and move forward lighter and cleaner than you have before. Again, purging out that darkness to bring in the light. So you may really also be, again, a lot of rest. You may just find there are things you're naturally drawn to do, and they really want you to embrace that. I know if you're watching this around the time that I am actually recording it, it is the holiday season, and sometimes rest feels like it's really hard to come by, but really just try to be good to yourself. And if there's something you really want, and it's within reason, right? I'm not telling anyone to go nuts and be like, I want a mansion and try to go out and buy one. I think we're all more reasonable than that, but like just allow yourself the little pleasures, the rest. If you really just feel like I just need some time to just chill on my couch, or if you live with other people and you're like, I just need some time to myself, really try to carve that time out intentionally. It can be really easy to overdo it this time of year. And again, we're not about sacrificing ourselves, right? Nobody wants to get to the point where they get sick. I got sick last year. Don't recommend. Don't recommend. It was nasty. It took me like 2 weeks to recover. So try to just carve out that time, even if it's just 5 minutes where you eat a cookie by yourself. Go for it. The other thing is, as far as the shadow goes, you really may just find you just don't tolerate certain things anymore. And it being holiday season, that could be a little interesting. You may see some hypocrisy, or people asking more emotional labor of you than you're willing to. Again, it's okay to say no. No is a full sentence. If you've committed to things and that's really all you can do when someone asks you to do more, you can just say no. Because you know what? If it's really important, someone else will pick it up. And if it's not, then it just falls through. And some things maybe just need to fall through this year. So use your discernment with that. You know your situation best. I trust your judgment. And so, you may just, again, just try to be flexible. If irritation is coming up, try to, clock it, pay attention to what it's trying to tell you, but also, handle it how you see fit. Again, you know your situation's best. And really, a lot of what this is, a lot of us may have restrained ourselves in certain ways. And that's part of the reason why those shadows get stuffed down in the process, because we don't let them come up. We don't acknowledge them. We don't express them. And so really, it may, even if it feels like regression, it's actually just honesty coming back into your body and really, again, reconnecting with your body. We're not ignoring the body anymore. The body literally and figuratively has to move forward with us, and we're done separating the two. We are one being. Your vessel is what holds you, and so we have to move forward with both of them as one, and treating both the soul and the body equally. You cannot be ignoring one while filling the other and having that balance. That's really what is being released. So for some of you, things may feel chaotic or tense right now, or you may have moments where it feels that way. That's, again, something that is being released at this time. The first point I've been feeling strongly, old coping strategies may not be working anymore. I really used to be hyper vigilant, which made me very controlling. Um, so imagine being controlling and overgiving. Yeah, it was wild. Um, Still working through the rest of that, but made a lot of progress. But yeah, I've just found recently that the more I push, the more resistance I get. And that's been really frustrating for me because that's pretty much what I've been using my whole life to get through life and get results. And I can't do it anymore. The more I surrender, the more I flow, things work out smoother for me. So try to give yourself patience and grace with that because as these old things are falling away, the old strategies will likely have to go with them. So just hang in there. It is a process. It does get easier with time, but you're really relearning how to go through your life. So, I'm not saying toss everything out at once, but just as you realize certain things are not working anymore, be open to approaching things in a new manner as you feel guided to. You may have some internal battles intensify briefly. Again, things tend to kind of scream before they go out. Like think of like in movies, where like the villain's fallen and they basically just like shout or make some noise until they, fall through whatever and die. It's kind of the same thing. And I know that's a bit of a graphic image, but that's just what they're showing me in my head. So, you know, if that's coming up, again, we don't need to overanalyze it. We don't need to assign meaning. A lot of that is just kind of letting it do that kind of final death cry before it gets released. So if you need to, just try to breathe through it, try to rest, really do as you feel guided. Maybe some of you might want to try to shake it out. Again, trust what you feel guided to do, but that may be something that you experience as well. The other and part of the reason why I keep bringing up the holidays is a lot of us will be seeing family, and everyone's family is a little different. You may be seeing friends, especially for like New Year's and things of that sort. You may encounter people who try to pull you back into some of those old paradigms, some of those old roles, and things of that sort. And I'm really getting to be loving but firm in your boundaries. Again, no is a complete sentence. If you don't want to talk about something, you can really, especially if someone brings up like a heavy or a sensitive topic, you can just say, look, it's Christmas Eve. I'm just trying to see everybody and have a good time. I'm not going to talk about that today. And if people push, walk away, roll away. There's no judgment here. Whatever you need to do, you can just take yourself out of that if need be. Even just some movement would be good for that. Reposture yourself in the moment if you feel like you need to, go get some food. Maybe you need to use the bathroom. Maybe someone's got a dog, or a pet. Go over and pet that person. You have ways to get yourself out of that situation, and you can straight up leave. You really can. If people are really pushing you and you feel you need to protect your peace, your presence is a privilege, not a right, not a guarantee. So again, your situation best, but you do have ways to manage that and trust your judgment in the moment. So, and really, even when people are trying to pull you back into those things, you're not doing anything wrong. That tension really stems from these old systems, these old programs, really just trying to reel you back in. And you don't have to consent to that. Again, you are powerful. You can say no. And if people are genuinely bothered or offended by the boundaries you feel like you need to put in place, that's on them. The weight of that decision and the weight of that impact, that's not yours to carry. Don't take that on. That's not yours. It can stay with them. Because a lot of times, if putting your needs first offends people, they really should be looking at why that offends them, right? So the other thing is, and this is really the last gate of a cycle completed, is grief. Grief does come up, and I would actually argue 2025 for me personally is the year I cried. I pretty much cried off and on for most of this year. Cried more this year than I think I have in my entire life combined. So if you're crying, that's okay. Some of you may be feeling exhausted. And that's part of the grief cycle too. And again, really honor how you're feeling to the best of your ability, because just because your mind has processed something, you understand it and you accept it, does not mean that has come all the way down, right? Our souls have completed these cycles. Our subconscious and unconscious minds tend to be further ahead than our conscious mind. And, our body may be at a different level. So if you're feeling a little wonky and a little uneven, just remember things are happening progressively at different levels, and what I'm getting is a lot of us are actually further along in this process than we consciously understand. In fact, they actually do want me to share this. I got a mantra yesterday, and despite how it looks, I'm not a huge mantra person. I don't use a ton of them, but if this speaks to you, I'll put this in the description of this video. For some of us, if you know you've been grieving and you recognize that you've been moving through these steps, you may want to incorporate this mantra because you really are closing that out. You're not going into it. You're actually on your tail end out of it. You can use this mantra to really help solidify that we are cutting off the old and we are moving into the new. And that is, I am no longer metabolizing the past. I'm living from what remains. So again, I'll actually keep that up so I don't forget to put that in the description. If that speaks to you, feel free to use it. But, a lot of times we may expect that once we make the decision, the exhaustion will actually kick in, and that's not actually the case. A lot of times the exhaustion comes after the decision. After things are actively being closed out, right? Because you make the decision, action takes place, and then there's the aftermath. And so that grief is often coming out as the aftermath of that decision. And, some of you maybe just be realizing that you spent a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of energy. You built a whole identity, a whole life for some of us based off of this overgiving tendency. And some of you it's really just starting to hit you, the toll that's really taken on you. And sometimes the hurt of really just starting to see people the way they really are. Some of you may go to the holidays and people just start showing you their true ass, and you're just like, I gotta go make an eye doctor appointment, because how did I not see this for so many years? And it's not that they're doing anything different. It's you're the one who's changing, and these things that you couldn't see before now become things you just simply cannot ignore. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with you. And it's not to shame anyone else. It's just taking in the information, recognizing what it's showing you, and adjusting appropriately. And, really just honoring what you feel, honor what feels true to you, and again, let the grief come and pass because you're trying to really resync all these things up, right? Soul, body, minds, all the minds. So really just, if you need to cry, let it out. If you need to have a movie marathon, that's totally fine. If you don't even want to see a single soul on New Year's Eve, that's okay too. Do what feels right to you. Honor how your process wants to happen and just keep holding grace. Because when the grief comes, it really is one of the final things that you go through before you start moving into this next phase. All right, so let's get to the good shit. So what stabilizes next? So the one thing they want us to be really clear on is, just because we're clearing out all this stuff does not mean that the newness comes in immediately. It would be amazing if it happened that way, but again, this is a process. And just because, your soul is closing out this major cycle, other systems need time to catch up. Again, your nervous system needs time to process as well. And so just know as you're going through this, you are making the room for the beautiful things to come in. So one of the things that is going to be coming through are material and relational resets coming in. So this is like healthier reciprocity, more equal give and take, as opposed to you just constantly overgiving and not receiving. Really that mutual support, which, for a lot of us, I'm sure is very welcome at this point. I'm not gonna lie, I have no intent to go back into hyper independence. I'm sick of that one-sided crap. I really am. Resources you may find also flow more evenly to you, as time goes on. Money, time, energy, help from expected and unexpected people, places, and things. And that's how I would encourage you to look at it. Don't just, be open to receiving and how you receive it. Things may not come in the way you expect, and that's okay. Even when I ask, even when I try to manifest certain things, I always add, from expected and unexpected sources, just because maybe the universe wants to delight you. Don't, try to keep those options open as opposed to thinking very narrow-minded. Because, and part of the reason why these things are coming in is because that overgiving created a lot of scarcity, whether we realize it or not. We really depleted ourselves, and that needs to balance back out. And so that's why that reset is coming in, to help bring that balance back and give you more of that flow. So really try to set the expectation that you are open to receiving, even if you don't necessarily feel like you're at a point where you are really ready for that. Just keep saying it, because you will catch up to that intention. So make sure you're saying that you are open and ready to receive from expected and unexpected sources. Your identity is going to reorganize. A lot of us are releasing old roles, old stories, old responsibilities, old authorities even. And there needs to be a reorganization of all those things. And so, again, like they just keep showing me the scales. This is the rebalancing coming in. Your identity is going to be no different. They're really talking about how like multiple priorities will be able to coexist without strain, because again, as we continue to balance out, so will all these other things. So you may find that you can, instead of feeling pressure when these things come up, instead of feeling that strain, you may find you're actually going to be more flexible moving forward. And so really, you know, again, they just keep bringing up be patient, be kind as you move through this, because you are really relearning who you are and how you function, how you approach the world, how you approach others, and things of that sort. There's a reason why this does need to take some time. This is not child's play, what we're doing, and a lot of us have really put in the work this year to bring these things in. And so, you know, with these big shifts, you just need time. There's a lot of reorganization going on. So, the last thing they really want to have me talk about are you may notice your feelings change. It's almost like your emotions are going to reset a little bit. And yeah, there emotional numbness and quiet may come up, and if you're like me and have had a lot of mental loops that are trying to release, that numbness, that quietness might be a bit jarring. And that's part of the reason why they want me to address that is there's nothing actually wrong with that. That's really normal at this time. You may want fewer inputs. You may find things overstimulating at this time. And you also may just be finding that you're just explaining less. Like I've said multiple times in this video, no is a full sentence. You don't have to be over explaining yourself. And you may find that you just stop doing that. If people get it, they get it. And if they don't, you're not worried about it. And that's okay too. A lot of these shifts are really going to have us honoring ourselves through and through. And so, a lot of what is going to happen next is, a lot of us have been focusing on healing, focusing on healing. What's the next thing that needs to happen? What do I need to do? What do I need to shift? How do I need to reprogram and things of that sort? And really what they're saying is we're moving into a time of stillness. The healing's going to happen in the stillness, not in the action. So you may find that you just start naturally moving away from certain things, and they're saying that's okay. Because again, we don't have to be, you've done the work. We don't have to be out here doing the most. You can, you need time to integrate what you have already done. And you have already done enough. And they want me to reiterate again that you are more than likely further, some of you significantly further ahead in doing this work than your conscious mind understands. And so they're saying that will catch up, but it will take more time. So again, if you feel called more to rest, to do that. That is actually what your body needs. And for some of you, that is what your mind actually needs too. It doesn't need more input. I actually, they want me to bring this up. I used to chronically listen to subliminals overnight, and now I do a couple of nightly statements, and then I play all 9. I have a video. I'll put that in the description as well. I play a video quietly, not super loud, that plays all 9 solfeggio frequencies, and I've been made it's made a lot of difference. I wake up feeling more well rested, better integrated, more grounded in my body. And so, And that was a hard shift for me to make because I was so used to, you know, again, doing all that work. And my team was like, you just don't need to be doing all that work. It's actually not helping you anymore, it's overloading you. So if you're feeling called to step some of that stuff back, again, trust that. Things will be shifting. You will be doing things differently. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. That's not you necessarily doing anything wrong. You know, if you try something and that doesn't feel right, you can always go back to what you did before. But again, just be open to change because it's coming. It's absolutely coming. So, again, just to really wrap this up, really let your system have the space to kind of let the old go and bring these new things in. Forcing is just not going to make it come any faster. If anything, it's probably going to start backfiring on us, and there's no need to force clarity. When the clarity is meant to arrive, it's going to arrive, and you don't need to announce these changes. Our presence and our energy is going to start speaking louder than anything we could say or do right now. So just stand in your strength, stand in your intuition, stand in your boundaries, and that will speak for itself. That is enough. You are enough as you are. you know and we're really, again, we're moving into a space where the body leads first, not the mind. The body leads first, and then life is just going to follow. So I know that is going to be an adjustment for some of us, but I know with enough time and enough practice that we'll all get there. And so with that, I'm going to bring it to a close. It was a longer message, so thank you to those who hung in there until the end, but just very explicit things that I needed to call out this time. So um, just remember, you're not behind, you're not lost. You're shifting and realigning, and please be kind and patient to yourself as you move through this process. It's better to go through this as a friend as opposed to fighting yourself tooth and nail along the way. So if you feel like you're fighting yourself right now, that's okay. That's just where you start. It's not where you need to end. And I know you'll work it out in time. So if this resonates with you, stay tuned. I'll be sharing more soon. Take care, everyone.